guys, this is me here. So I'm gonna do another review that is not kaiju, but it's rather something interesting I wanted to take a look at. In fact, there's not too many reviews on this either. This item that I got is strange, not how it looks strange, but what is strange about it is that it said it was gonna arrive at January, the 4th, but it actually arrived on the 28th of December. So it's kind of strange. I don't know if it's because of delays or they decided to just amp up the speed or something. Let me know in the comments why deliveries and stuff do strange deliveries like that, to where they say that they're going to deliver it for a long time, but they don't actually, and they come back early. But anyway, yeah. So today we're going to look at the iconic replicas flxible new look transit bus blank version. I preferred the blank version, so I decided to get it. However, I was going to try to get the Chicago one, but I couldn't. But we'll talk about that later. So this is a 187 scale model bus, and you can see it says iconic replicas limited edition. This is the back. I'm not gonna read it because it's too long, but you can just pause this if you want. This says flxible, what does that say? Lodomville, Ohio, USA. I don't know, I never heard of that name before. I guess it is a real, it has to be a real place, but I never been there or heard of it. I know what Ohio is, it's a state. And this is the bus here. This particular one is in its New York livery, and it has some strange, I don't know why, but it has like a hump here and then another hump there. I think that other hump is the AC unit, but this one that we're looking at doesn't have anything on the top, and it's all blank. And you can pause this also if you want. I don't want to read a lot. In fact, every time I'm reading what the item is about or what it is, it's always making the video so long. So I wanted for this one to be short. So yeah. And it says 2020. This was actually released last year. No, not last year. It was released 2 years ago in 2020. In fact, I had a hard time getting it, but I kind of regret not getting it. But thankfully, I was able to get the similar one. So it says, a die-cast model not suitable for children under 14 years. I'm perfectly fine. I'm much older than that. In fact, I'm actually 1 year older than 14. So it's perfectly fine. I don't even give these to kids. In fact, they're quite delicate unless you didn't have the mirrors or anything. But even without the mirrors, it's still a model. It's quite detailed, so you don't want to damage it and stuff. And this is the top. It looks similar to the other sides. And yeah, you can see on the thing it says flxible transit bus blank white. We're gonna just open it now, shall we? So let's take a look at it. This is strange because for some reason it doesn't come with any tape, so I don't know if it's always like that, but okay. It was in new condition, so it should be just fine. And this is like the case for it. It's kind of nice. Let me just position my camera lower, or however it is. So now we're gonna, now somehow the tape just comes off like this when I pull it, and because of it I don't even have to take it out. I've done this before with all other models that you might have had seen in my other channel. But there you go. Oh, and what the, wait, something just fell out of the box for a moment. What is this? I got this bag here of, oh, it's the mirrors. I get what it is. It's additional mirror pieces in case I lose them or break them off by accident. Yeah, sometimes these models can be fragile. But this is the bus. It's quite a nice detailed bus. I mean, for something that was like, I think $50 or 60, it's not terrible. I think 60 is too much, but I paid for it for like 50, so it's perfectly fine. But it's quite nice though. I don't know why some people said that this wasn't, but I find it weird because if people said that this wasn't the best model in particular for iconic replicas, how come I'm seeing a lot of these being sold out? Because, and I regret doing this. I regret doing this. I was actually gonna get, well, here's the thing. I wanted to either get this one or a Chicago version of it, because they had one that was the CTA livery, because I like Chicago. I regret not getting the Chicago one, and because the Chicago one is no longer available, I was a little bit sad, but at the same time, I did like the blank one, so for me, I didn't care which one I got. I think it was also, I think it was better. I got the blank version because I could, if I want, change the liveries or something. I'm not gonna do actually like those types of livery changing to where I like paint it and stuff because I don't want to ruin the model. I'm gonna actually just do it like a sticker. In fact, a crazy one that I thought in mind was to give it a Walt Disney color because it looks like the type of bus that should have been in Walt Disney, but it isn't. But it's okay. I still like it. It has a nice white color scheme. I like it a lot. And for the bus company, the flxible, they are one of my favorite buses that I ever seen, to be honest. I actually did one time saw one in Canada. Well, I mean, I am in Canada, but I one time saw, I think it was a camper version of this, and it was like all green or something, parked somewhere on a hill in Canada. I don't remember where. And I should have took a picture of it, but I, at the time, didn't have a camera. I was actually quite younger when I saw it. But all I remember is that it was one of these types of flxible buses, this exact one. It might have had an air conditioning unit or something, but it had like something on the top, like other air conditionings or something, because it was like a camper bus. But it was like all green and stuff, and it had like a design like that. It would have been actually cool if Canada had flxible buses. They sort of did, but it wasn't this particular one. It was the 8070 one, but I'm not going to explain that one. That's a different bus model. What I meant is that they don't, like, Canada never had these buses, unfortunately, and it's sad because, like, these buses, in my opinion, were very cool, and I think they would, especially for stuff like the TDC, it would actually look very nice with it. In fact, in a strange way, it sort of reminds me a tiny bit of the new Flyer, not the new Flyer, the Flyer trolley buses, the 700 ones. Not the ones that had the square windows, but the ones that had the windows like these. They all have this sort of a fishbowl design, if you notice, actually. The flxible and some other buses similar to this. And I think it's been also inspired by it, too. In fact, I actually have a fishbowl bus model, but it's not as correctly detailed because it's based on a kid's toy, but I'll show it later. So this is like the bus model. It has nice details on the rims. You got the windows here. They're like an old-fashioned parallelogram windows. You got, now, this is supposed to come with this. It's like a blackish window thing that's like very tiny. You can still see through it, but it's like darker shade. And this is the window. I like the metal there, that it would be, like, this would usually be painted silver, but it's like they still added the details, which is nice. And this is the front of it. It's a pretty cool front. I don't know if it's me, but I've been seeing buses that are not fishbowls or flexibles, but they all have this similar window design. It's like I don't know what it is. Sorry, the video cut out for a moment, but I was gonna point out was that The doors look okay, however, for some reason they look a little bit crooked, but it's not too terrible if you looked at it in that specific way. This is the other door, this is the windows, and here's the back. The back actually looks quite nice, and it looks pretty cool. And I like the bumper that, like, blends in with the other bumper or whatever it is. The lights are pretty cool. What is kind of strange, though, although it might make this look correct, because there's actually many different versions of these flxible buses. Some of them obviously had the AC units. Now, some of these ones without the AC units usually had wider windows, and they never came with this, although there were some that were like this with the windows. But most of the time when you see these particular ones with the short windows like this, they would always come with the AC unit, like the Miami Transit one or any of those other ones. But I think it still looks cool. And I kind of like it without the AC unit, because it looks more... I sometimes like it when buses don't always have everything on top. That's just me. But overall, the details on it are quite nice. So that's the details. And the wheels look pretty cool as well. And this is the underside. There's no detail on it, unfortunately, but it does say the name of it, though. And these are dualies, like real dualies, and these are screws. These black dots or black areas are actually the screws, so that if you want, you could, like, maybe paint the interior or maybe do some cool stuff with it. But I'm not gonna do it for myself, because I usually don't damage. If I had like 2, I would have, but I'm not going to, because these cost a lot of money, and I don't have like 2 of these. I have other iconic replicas, but not the same models as these, so I decided not to. Anyways, so the details on it are quite nice. The paint job is quite nice. Oh, another one I forgot, actually, quickly. It's too bad the destination sign is not painted black and it's just all white. But if you want, and if you were, like, let's say, decorating it, you could just cover it up with a black tape or something to make it look more detailed, but it looks good overall. Now we're going to compare it with other models and toys about, like, this was, like, about variants of bus toys, or different, like, it's a variety of bus toys or bus models. First, I want to scale it with other iconic replicas I have. In fact, in total, I have like 4. Here's the TDC New Flyer Excelsior electric bus from the Toronto Transit Commission. I don't know if the scaling is correct with this, but it doesn't look very bad. I think it looks pretty good, especially for the fact that since this is an electric bus, and very similar to hybrid buses or CNG buses, they're always going to have something on the top like that. So I think it looks fine to me. Although what does look much better with it is the Go Transit bus. Although the Go Transit bus for some reason looks too long, but I believe that's how it is based on. But this is it. The Go Transit bus looks good. And the other MCI bus I have is this Greyhound MC9. It's an older MCI bus. The scaling on it, I think, are like that's strange. They're almost like the same size or same length. But it looks good, though. In fact, I like how this seems more taller than this one, because that's how these coach buses are supposed to be. They're supposed to be taller than regular buses. Let me just line it up. I'm also going to put it from the oldest to newest, since I have 2 old buses and 2 new buses for my iconic replicas. The only thing is that most of them are like Canadian branded. Although it's the strange thing about MCI is that even though MCI was made in the United States, how come they would have it in Canada too, but they wouldn't have these buses? Maybe these buses aren't as popular, but they were very popular in the US. I don't know. That's just me. I still think they should have had those, but this was a long time ago. Maybe they were too expensive since it was an American model bus. But anyway, yeah. Now let's compare it to smaller models. Now with a Micro Machine car, it looks pretty good with it, although I think it's too small. I think it should be a little bit bigger, but it does look okay overall. So if you have, like, let's say, because this is a 187 scale, it looks fine with your Micro Machines as long as they're not too big. How about a Hot Wheels car? Well, this particular model I think looks okay since the Pontiac is a very long car. This is a Pontiac Bonneville. It's a very big car like the Impala. The scale looks okay, however I think it should be a little bit smaller, so if you have Hot Wheel cars that are smaller, not like Micro Machines, it should look okay, but with some specific models it may not always look okay. But what are you gonna do? It does, so it looks okay with some Hot Wheels cars and stuff, but remember, this is not a 1/64 scale model. This is a 1/87 scale. It's HO scale type of, like this is like intended for stuff like railroads or city layouts and stuff like that. If you do want to get smaller cars, you would have to go to a hobby shop to get 1/87 scale cars. Now, even though this is not, although it kind of is, because it's nowadays considered as a model since it's old, but it's, I think, a kid's toy, is these tractor trailers. This one, I think, is from Motor Max. The scale of it is perfect. Or the scale of it actually looks okay. I wouldn't say perfect. Let me see, actually. Let's just compare that there. Yeah, so in real life, I mean, a bus is big too, but like, if it was for a box trailer, for an example, like this refrigerator van, it should actually be taller than a bus. So I believe the scale on this is perfect. However, now this I think was a 1/64 scale, so if you have toy trucks like these that are like your Matchbox, like your Matchbox convoy trucks or Hot Wheels steering rigs or any of these types of smaller truck models that are not too big but they are not too small, it looks fine with it. What does not go well with it, however, are green light trucks. Since green light trucks, now unfortunately, you look at the wheels, they are too big, and they do not look very good with, like this one here is a tanker truck, and it still looks terrible with the scale. It's too big, unfortunately, so that's the problem with green light trucks. I do have other bus models that are not models, but they are sort of toys, although I customized one of them. Here's a look at the fishbowl bus. Now, there is an HO scale version of a fishbowl. In fact, there's like, I think, 3 different versions. I don't know if one of them is a Corgi. I know there's one from a company called Bush and Rapido Trains. Now, since this is more of a toy bus that mostly goes well with these other cars, it doesn't look very good with the flxible because it's a little bit more wider or bigger. And I mean, since this is a kid's toy, it doesn't have as much details. However, on this one, I decided to turn it into a OC Transpo bus. So, yeah. And another one is not the same bus model, but it's similar. Is this, I think this is a GMC RTS or a TMC RTS bus. Yeah, the same one that Manhattan always used in, like, their movies or even their transit companies. Yeah, the scale on this one is not great either, but it would go okay with your Hot Wheels or your Micro Machines. So if you're like into bus models, for those who have, let's say, a larger car like Hot Wheels, I would recommend these models, even if they're more childish like. but I do still consider them as a collectible, though, anyways. You could get those ones, those pullback ones, like these ones. These are pullbacks, by the way. They, like, you pull them back and then they go and stuff. That's die cast. But if you are into HO scale models and you don't have any HO scale cars, or you do have an HO scale car but you don't have buses, I would actually recommend these iconic replicas because they look quite good with it. But yeah, so scale with some models look okay, although not all of them look correct with it. Now, I do have another collection of the crappy bus models that I think were terrible. And this is why I don't recommend any of these companies if you're into collecting realistic buses. Here's this articulated bus from Siku. I think it's like a German... I forget where it is. Yeah, it's like a German toy company. The scale of it, I think, looks okay, which is surprising. But the problem about it is because this is a, and this is the problem I don't like, and this one here I customized it, but it still looks crappy. Siku is a brand that I do not recommend for any collectors. Why? Because the details and the particular buses they use are very crappy. The only thing that ever caught my attention to Siku was either maybe some particular train models, or maybe some specific trucks, or maybe it was just the die-cast models that appealed to me. The only realistic thing they ever had from Siku was a school bus. But the problem about school bus is that there's too many school bus toys, so I decided not to get a school bus. And this transit one here, this articulated one, is just very crappy. I don't recommend Siku if it was for HO scale collectors. Even worse, although it's not as terrible, but unfortunately it's just a fictional model. And it would be cool if they made their own buses like these two, Matchbox or Hot Wheels. Here's a Matchbox bus that I got. Now, I think this particular model would be longer, but because it was in a package, it would have to be shortened to length to fit. You can just see how it's not a correct scale, and with HO scale stuff, it doesn't always look great unless you want to have, because there are some transit buses that are smaller like this, and they're not as long as a regular one. So maybe it works, but for me, it's not such an appeal to me. In fact, I tried customizing this into a TDC bus, and let's just say it's the same type of crap. It's quite crappy. But anyway, yeah, so for iconic replicas, I would give this a, what should the rating be? Some people said that it's not a good model, but I actually think it is. In fact, I'll explain later the problem about this. I give it a 9 out of 10. Everything else is actually quite nice, but the problem about it is that this bus, even though it was popular back in the day, like in 2020 or 2021, Iconic Replicas is not making too much of these flexibles, unfortunately, and it's very sad because there's not too many of these flexible models. In fact, there were some that were like from a company called Victor Models, but they were very expensive. And I was like, what the heck is this type of price? It's like, the Vector models look nice, but they are just too expensive. So you can't afford these, you'll have to get the Iconic Replicas. Now what is kind of scary, and that's also the problem why I gave it a 9 out of 10, the reason why it has a 9 out of 10 is because, like everything else, like I said, is good. The problem, though, is that they don't make too much of these buses. In fact, these buses are literally, most of them, like half of them, are all sold out. Especially this one here. I saw this one on a different website, but I didn't want to get it because I thought the website was a scam. So the only choice I had to get it was from Amazon. Now, Usually Amazon would sell these buses for like $50, but I would have to pay a little bit more than... No, I didn't actually. I almost did, because most of these versions of flexibles or other buses were like $60 to $100 or $80. I got this thankfully for $50. And I'm actually very lucky I got a flexible bus. I didn't care if it was the Chicago one or this blank one. I just wanted these two mostly, but I wanted one of them each. So I'm happy I got this blank one. In fact, the blank one I think is better, even though I like the Chicago one too. But the blank one is nice because I can customize the livery if I want to. And it looks very classic, and it just looks very nice. And, yeah. Now, reason why I said this was rare, because I think because this is since everyone wanted to see a model of this, everyone was like literally buying this so much. Like a long time ago, the Chicago version of this was like in stock. When I looked back on eBay or Amazon, they no longer have it anymore. So the only choice I had was to just find a blank version of this, like this one. There were two blank versions. One had an AC unit, the other one is this one here that's just all, like, there's no additional parts added, it's just all blank and stuff. It's based on the transit one. Those AC unit ones are more for, like, the coach buses or whatever it is. But anyway, yeah. So, because these buses are rare, I could not, like, I had a hard time finding this, honestly. It was so terrible. But thankfully, when I went back to Amazon, in fact, I don't shop too much in Amazon because Amazon doesn't have a lot of stuff like eBay does. I was thankfully able to find this one, and I was happy to get it. It was very strange because it said that it was gonna deliver in January the 4th, but it actually came in November 28th. No, not November, December 28th, yesterday. So that's very nice that it came, and I'm happy that I was able to get the bus that I always wanted. So that's something cool. So just to let you know, if you see any of these flexible buses, I would recommend, well, for those who want to have a blank livery or blank buses, I would recommend this to the blank bus collection. Or if you just want to customize buses, I would recommend this one too. If you're just someone who just wants a flexible bus, getting a blank version of it is not a bad idea. However, if you want to get the flexible bus, like, just in total, like you just want the Chicago one, New York one, any other versions, I recommend one of them. In fact, because these things are being sold out, if you see any flexible bus and you want it, I would recommend picking whichever one you see, because these are unfortunately going out of stock instantly. And you know what, because they are going, this is probably like the most taken model. Like, out of all the other models I showed you, this one seems to be more rare than all the other ones. So, if you find this model in any color, any livery, or even this blank one with the AC or without it, I would highly recommend it. I give this, a bus, I would usually give it a 10 out of 10, but because they don't make too many of these, I give it a 9 out of 10. But it is a very good model overall. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'm also happy that I got it because it adds a nice collection to my iconic replica buses and other bus models that I think I might have had made before. In fact, I used to have this police station set, but I turned it into a bus terminal. It's very big. But what I could do is that it's supposed to be a bus terminal to where the buses could just go inside like this. And it fits perfectly well, and it also rolls quite well. But, yeah. So I'm gonna just end the review now, and I'll see you guys later in the next video. Actually, I don't know if I'll be, because New Year's is actually coming very soon, so I may not be on. That's because I'm gonna be celebrating New Year's, but not where I am. So I'll see you guys in New Year's. So happy early New Year's and goodbye.